We are so often encouraged to think globally and act locally. However, in times like these, news headlines reflect wars and rumors of wars, moral decay seems rampant, and narcissistic leaders jeopardize our civic and economic well-being, while community behavior also reflects self-absorption. Perhaps we need a new conceptualization of leader, or even an entirely new word. For example, in this conceptualization, leadership is an emergent interactive dynamic, a complex interplay from which a collective impetus for action and change emerges when heterogeneous agents interact in new ways that produce new patterns of behavior or new modes of operating. In fact, this conceptualization goes hand in hand with Sheldon Wollin's belief that our whole mode of thinking must be turned upside down. A political being, says Wollin, is not to be defined as the citizen he has been. In other words, a citizen or community member should not be identified as an abstract, disconnected bearer of rights, privileges, and immunities, but instead as a person whose very existence is located in a particular place and draws its sustenance from circumscribed relationships, family, friends, neighborhood, church, workplace, community, town, and city. Moreover, says Audre Lorde, we must train ourselves to respect our relationships and feelings and transpose them into a language that can be shared. This project, entitled Walk Into Your Season, The Art of Cultural Work, attempts to facilitate such a language, conceiving that we all, to some degree and in some respects, have leadership responsibilities. This learner-centric IT-enriched environment is centered on cultural work. Cultural work is a dynamic process that activates individual and collective action and transformation. It is a process through which people gain control over their lives, democratic participation in the life of their community, and a critical understanding of their environment. Cultural work conceives empowerment as an intentional, ongoing process centered in the community. It is predicated on mutual respect, caring, critical reflection, and group participation, and is a vehicle through which people who do not have an equal share of valued resources acquire greater access to and control over those resources. Cultural workers explore the empowering features of a setting or organization. They carve creative spaces and build a repertoire that renews people, rejuvenates people, re-energizes people, empowers people, individually and collectively, or, if necessary, starts from scratch to do a new thing, in a new place, in a new way. My book, Walk Into Your Season, The Art of Cultural Work, is the spine of this concept, as it explains the role of the cultural worker through four related factors: cultural work, free space, discursive communities, that is, face-to-face communities, and empowerment. And it culminates in 10 principles of a cultural worker. At the same time, I also conceive that the learner-centric concept can emerge as a more effective and reflective community tool if enriched by technology that employs visual, auditory, and kinesthetic measures. Cultural work and technology are important in 1. Identifying, engaging, and illuminating the empowering features of free space. 2. Discerning the gaps between reality and the democratic ideal. 3. Facilitating a creative space in which recognized gaps can be explored. 4. Building a repertoire that empowers individually and collectively. 5. Making hidden transcripts public when appropriate. And 6. Celebrating the emergent creative repertoire in the community. Succinctly, the principles of a cultural worker are the spine of a vision which recognizes the efficacy of auditory, visual, and kinesthetic modes of learning in manifesting empowering practices through cultural work. The principles are the infrastructure, the community is the engine, the technology is the motherboard. I conceive 3 technologies as promising in developing, implementing, and contextualizing my own learner-centric approach to cultural work. The 3 are: 1. 3D printing in order to build an empowerment cube with movable parts. 2. Gaming. And 3. YouTube video. Let's explain the 3. The hands-on potential of the Rubik Power Cube, the empowerment cube that is, its effectiveness as a model or tool whose spaces can be reconfigured to demonstrate and reveal the closed, invited, and open spaces people create, inhabit, and dominate, can be replicated and witnessed with the aid of the 3D printer. The cube becomes a 3-dimensional instrument with movable parts rather than a static abstract conceptualization on a piece of paper left to unfocused imaginative wandering and abstract interpretation without context. Moreover, it can be programmed to simulate potential community connections, partnerships, and collaborations in these closed, invited, and open spaces I've mentioned. While the cube, the power cube, illuminates the types of spaces in which power or the lack of it and empowerment reside, used in concert with gaming, possibilities for problem solving relevant to leadership, followership, and individual and collective growth expand. Gaming brings a three-dimensional experience to the learner-centric cultural worker approach. Gaming allows for creative collaboration, simulates tactile interaction and association, replicates social tensions, facilitates another perspective when empirical knowledge is absent. It imitates being in the room, fosters experiences into cultural transactions, and peers into hidden transcripts or conversations which often remain undisclosed in order to reveal windows of opportunity for problem solving, and thus it creates related intimacy through virtual discursive communities. Two games are initially planned, one that does not require an Xbox and another that does. They both address community building, individual and collective empowerment, and leadership, but they are age-specific. This means that the audiences that will be addressed reflect the demographics of our society. The settings, scenarios, and music will be designed with each in mind. Music copyrights will be researched to avoid copyright infringement. Certainly, gaming employs an auditory component alongside the visual. However, this learner-centric approach also conceives YouTube as a way of layering music, voice, and visual effects that can be shared with diverse audiences. YouTube facilitates emulating stories and events through the lens of indigenous cultures, achieved by layering the voice narrative, music, and the effects. A very practical consideration in implementing the learner-centric vision and achieving the efficacy believed attainable is assessing technological hardware, data management, networks, security, and software. This learner-centric approach requires hardware and devices. Computers, computer monitors, laptops, smartphones, tablets, a small camera, a video camera, an Xbox, and a 3D printer. My IT specialist is cloud computing. They will be contracted to conduct a comprehensive assessment regarding whether other components are warranted but have been overlooked. The advantage with cloud is that they're familiar with the research. In addition, an independent consultant will review the cloud assessment. Pertaining to data is not only helpful but powerful. It answers the question who's interested in cultural work and who should be interested or may benefit yet is not being reached. Data reveals gaps. We will be researching and searching and analyzing sizable quantities of data to discover useful patterns or relationships, which may then be used to predict future behavior. Analysis of the data will include simple query and reporting functions, statistical analysis, more complex multidimensional analysis, and data mining, that is, knowledge discovery in databases, or KDD. To facilitate the best use of data and organizational continuity, a contract manager will be hired to ensure that the specified data maintenance is 1. Performed on schedule, 2. Conducted with minimal disruption to IT operations, and 3. Verified by way of a program of post-maintenance testing. A gaming consultant and IT technician will be needed. Cloud computing will be contracted to conduct the comprehensive data assessment. However, an independent consultant will also analyze the cloud assessment. Once the contractor assesses the network components, the network administrator will assume responsibility for coordinating the server, routers, wireless connectivity, website maintenance, domain name, cable provider. In terms of security, there is also the need for a firewall to prevent unauthorized users from accessing private networks. This is essential, as is an intrusion detection system to monitor, detect, and deter intruders. This concept will require an app for the gaming. It is important to evaluate the app and device populations to avoid being blindsided by threats or missing promising opportunities. In addition to the challenges of inventory and administering vast numbers of mobile apps, other crucial concerns that result from unrestrained app proliferation have to do with security. By definition, mobile apps live and circulate outside the enterprise firewall. but may well have great access to enterprise information assets inside the firewall. Apps can defeat the most hardened security if they allow hackers and opportunists a free ride inside. Thus, an important principle to embrace in designing an app will be to start with a comprehensive security policy and work out from there. Antivirus and antispyware software to detect the presence of malware is also necessary. So far as software, Audacity software will enhance the audio component to YouTube videos. However, it will be necessary to develop a game specific to problem solving in cultural work and challenges of cultural workers. In terms of network routers, wireless connectivity, the website, the domain name, and a cable provider, all of those will be necessary. So to recapitulate, this learner-centric concept, Walk Into Your Season, the Art of Cultural Work, uses technology to reflect on the leadership, talents, social contribution, and wisdom individuals bring to the collective community experience. It conceives that we can become better people who build stronger communities and organizations. It may be a mistake to mix old and new wines, but old and new wisdom mix quite admirably.